Hola, mi gente. It's another month of downloading the Chisme with my friend Ellie. Sorry, I sound so weird. I feel like I can totally hear it.
Just a little bit, nothing crazy.
It's been a really crazy couple of weeks. A lot has happened in my life, and I've been
Yes,
traveling a lot. But
a little relationship cheese man.
we'll have a little relationship Chisme. Should we save that for the first or the last?
We should do it first. We're doing entertainment first. Entertainment. Influencers.
Well, that's not me. I don't know what you're talking about, girl. So, yeah, as of 2 weeks ago, when this podcast episode comes out, because we always try and do it at the end of the month to be pretty timely. I got engaged.
Woo! I want to hear the whole story because I just saw the photos, which look really fun.
Okay, I'll try to abbreviate it as much as possible. So, um, my now fiance, soon to be husband, uh, we always go to Padre games. And I grew up in San Diego, so I've been a Padres fan since I was a kid. I grew up being a Padres fan, and he's a super uber Padres fan. So it was kind of cool because it's something that we like separately that we could come together on. And, he just got promoted at his job. So he's been like, oh, I need to go here. Oh, I need to go there. And because he just got promoted, I don't think anything of it, to be perfectly honest. I think nothing. Okay, cool. Do what you got to do, whatever. And, unbeknownst to me, he had been plotting and planning how he was going to ask me to marry him. Um, so apparently, not apparently, a lot of the Padres players go into his restaurant. A lot of the GM, the owner, they all go in there. And so the owners know them very well. So Antonio had gone to them and told him what they wanted to do. So they got him in touch with the Padres and they walked him through everything and he told him what he wanted to do. So then he told me that he had won a photo with the Friar being Padres mascot. And everybody, because everybody knows how many games we go to, they're like, you need to organize something. And he's like, I don't know how I got chosen to organize it. Now, all of this is an elaborate plan, right? Because he's going to propose and I have no idea. And I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. I have a lot of stuff, other stuff going on. I'm like,
Mhm.
I'm not thinking about it too much. So he had told me, oh, you should ask your parents if they want to come. And I was like, no, my mom just had knee surgery. She's not
Yeah.
gonna be up for it. Little, obviously not knowing what was gonna happen. And so it became one of those things. Well, since I didn't ask my parents, he couldn't ask my parents to be there because then it would be super obvious if I see my parents. I'm like, what the heck? What are they doing here?
Yeah.
And then some friends I didn't ask that because I'm like, oh, they don't need to worry about it. They like, they go to Padres games all the time, or oh, they don't even care about baseball. They don't care about a picture with it. So there's so many people who was like, you should invite your friends, but I only invited a couple of friends because like I felt like I was imposing just to take a picture with the friar,
Yeah. You're like,
right?
I'm doing too much. I'm doing the most.
Yeah. So I was just like, okay. Obviously now it would have been like I would have been like, oh yes, of course my parents are gonna come, or oh this,
Right.
whatever. And that's the beauty and the pain of not knowing, right? Because obviously I really wish my parents would have been able to be there. But at the same time, like I if he would have asked them, he would have it would have ruined the
Yeah.
surprise.
So do you feel like the surprise, it was better to have the surprise?
Yeah, it was. I'm not gonna lie, because he had always said that he never wanted to get married again.
Hmm.
Like he's already been married, so he said he never wanted to get married again. And then one time he had mentioned something that if you ever propose to me, he knows what ring. And I was like, no, don't tell me that. Don't talk like that. Uh, because I don't want to be upset with you. Like right now. We know what the situation is. I'm okay with that. And apparently, when I was gone on one of my trips, he said that's when he realized that he wanted to marry me. And apparently, didn't waste any time after that.
Oh, I love that. You're like, I just went traveling. It's
Right?
like, I gotta be honest.
Yeah. Well, I had no idea. Look, it took a long time. If you see the video, and his is actually better than the one that I got.
Mm-hmm.
But if you would see the video, you see how confused I am because we're all taking a picture and then we're taking a picture just me and him with the fryer. And as we're taking a picture just me and him, the pod squad, they come out from behind the Tony Gwynn statue with
Mm-hmm.
signs.
Yeah.
And behind him it says marry me Jay ? And I'm just like, what? I see him get on his knee and I thought he was tying his shoe. I was like, huh?
I
What?
remember the video. You just looked down. You were like, what are you
Yeah,
doing?
you could totally tell that I'm so confused. And then he's like, turn around. The friar had to turn me around. And finally it says, will you marry me, Jay ? And it still took me a couple more seconds to realize that he was proposing to me.
Oh my God. I love that.
And then, of course, I said yes. And this is how thoughtful he is. My ring is, I don't know, you can see, it's made of wine crystals.
I remember you posted it. That's
So
so
that
cool.
is, these are rosé, these are Cabernet, but like how freaking thoughtful is that?
It's like perfect for your whole, thing you got going on.
Exactly. So, well, speaking of wine, I have my wine. Do you have wine, Ellie? You say you're going to get some this time.
No, I don't have
You
wine
guys, she
today.
lied to me. She
You
lied.
guys, it's not even 11. But I
And
do have, but I do. She's like, I don't care. I have my coffee. I have my coffee for
I
the
mean, who would
chisme.
I be? This is supposed to be what, girl? This is supposed to be the most purest
I know.
form of wine and cheese, man. You don't have your wine? I'm so disappointed in you, Ellie.
Well, I'm like last time I had it, and today I didn't get it.
Yes. So, okay, well, I'll tell you what wine I'm drinking
Love it.
because it is not you. It's like a quarter to 11 when we're recording this. So I kept it light. I kept it with the 2014 Chardonnay from the Los Carneros area from Herencia del Valle. So now that we have this, now that we're going to do this on video, there's
The bottle.
the bottle. Let's see.
I think you gotta move it. Put your
There
hand
you
behind it.
go.
Oh no, your hand is behind it. Okay. Love it. Is this one
Herencia
of the
del
brands
Valle.
you know, or?
Yes, this is one of our Latine owned wine brands by Guillermo and Angelica. And Guillermo is actually the president of MAVA. So I
Oh,
actually
cool.
had I had the opportunity to actually MC um, a MAVA event, their La Cosecha Grand Tasting over the last weekend. So much fun, so amazing. So salud to my lying
Cheers.
friend over here.
I love it.
Mm.
I'm like, I'm still
See,
waking
it's
up this
light enough.
morning.
It's good. It's a good, like,
Morning.
yeah, pre-noon
Pre-noon
wine.
sip.
Yes. Okay, we
I
got
love it.
my chisme out of the way, right? We got my chisme, we got the
Perfect.
wine out of the way. Let's just dive into it because, August was pretty, like, there was a lot of things happening in August.
Yep.
One of the biggest things, now last month we had talked about Ariana Grande, but this month in August, there was a lot of stuff in regards to like people saying Ariana Grande has never been a girl's girl. And her relationship trail seems to, I mean, I don't know. What do you like? I feel like I was watching a lot of stuff, especially beginning mid August in regards to that. So if you don't know, Ariana Grande she's recording the movie Wicked. And in that, she started apparently, allegedly, having an affair with her co-star Ethan something, who is also married, but apparently people know him as SpongeBob because he was on the Broadway version of SpongeBob.
Okay.
So that's who he played on Broadway. And now he's in this. And now like his wife within the last year has like a 10 or 11 month old baby. They both have a 10. And he left her high and dry for Ariana Grande.
Not thinking that he's going to be left high and dry any second.
Because nobody that's gone out under Ariana Grande has been left high and dry.
Oh my gosh. I was reading her relationship history and I was like, oh my God. You know, it's just so hard when some of these people, like she's been out here dating, you know, she's like, what, like 15, I think was one of her big celebrity relationships. I just can't imagine doing all of that so publicly.
I mean, it
Just
went from, I forgot who her
constant.
first, I think the one I know is like her big one is with Big Sean when him and Naya Rivera
We're
were
still together.
engaged. Yeah. And so she went from Big Sean to
A dancer,
a
Ricky
dancer.
Alvarez.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because she talks about him. And then she went from, I think, him to Mac Miller.
Mm-hmm.
And then Mac Miller to Pete. But then obviously, when she was with Pete Davidson, Mac Miller died. And that was a big thing for her. And then she broke
Mm-hmm.
up with Pete Davidson. Like, and he was with Cassie Davis when they got together, who is Cassie David, who is Larry David's daughter. That's who Pete Davidson was with and left for Ariana Grande. I don't know if I think they were kind of like on a break or something, but like they weren't, it
Okay.
didn't seem like they were fully broken up
Yeah.
when
And
that
he was
happened.
like, I'm out of here. He's like,
Yeah,
I'm
and
gonna take
during
advantage
that
of this.
time, yes, and during that time, he met Ariana Grande, and there you go. And then they were really done, apparently.
Yep. So I know we're going to talk about, do you want to talk about, I'm going to connect the dots because there's this amazing podcast that I remember listening to a few years ago that talks about these celebrity like relationships. And
Mm-hmm.
so maybe we talk about Rosalia and Rao first
Okay.
before we talk about this. And then I'll like tell you what I've always had in my mind for like over 5 years now, ever since I listened to that
Oh,
episode about.
no, yeah. Well, obviously, so Lau, Rosalia and Rao have broken off their engagement. They were together. How long were they together? A few years, right?
I think 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, I was gonna say three. Um, and then there was accusations that Raul cheated on Rosalia. Who know? I mean, again, we never know what's going on
Mm-hmm.
totally in these relationships, right? Just like nobody ever totally knows what's going on in our relationships.
Right.
Apparently there was another statement put out, even with Rosalia's like approval or signature or whatever, that there was no cheating involved. So I don't know. You think something like that's just a safe space, or you think that like something really did happen?
I think we never know. Okay, so this is I want to walk you through what I think about all of this and why I never like fully believe them, even though I'm sure that there's like honest real celebrity relationships, but I always have this in the back of my mind. And I think also just like, I feel like we kind of touched on this last time, but we work in communications, we work in marketing, like publicity, like we know like what people are trying to do behind the scenes. But I listened to this amazing episode. I went and I looked for it this morning because I was like, I could not remember what exactly it was called. So there was this episode. NPR had a podcast called Hidden Brain. It was all about like psychology, how the mind works. They used to just cover like really cool concepts and ideas. And so they had this episode called Never Go to Vegas. And so he had this woman who was basically a researcher who talked about like social class and unspoken rules. And she talks about celebrity culture. Like she had researched a bunch of stuff like, what are people buying in like the biggest urban cities, like what's popular, celebrity culture. So one of the things that she found through tracking like pictures where A-list celebrities were traveling, where they would be found in these like amazing like event photos, was how difficult it is to go from, let's say, like a D-list celebrity to the A-list, and how exclusive, which, I think we know more commonly, like just being in the A-list is like so much harder, right?
Oh
Like
yeah.
these people are not seen as often. They're only going to specific things. They're really only seen with each other. And so it was really cool because she talked about studying all of this. And she's like, really the only way that you go from like D-list or even B-list to A-list is usually dating somebody or like marrying in, or you become like a best friend. So I think about this in terms of like, for example, Pete Davidson. Pete Davidson started dating Ariana Grande. Then he fell into the Kardashians. Then he started getting these huge commercials on TV and like brand deals, which he was never really getting before.
Yeah. But
And
before even the
so,
Kardashians, he had dated Kate Beckinsale as well. So like he had kind of a flurry of high profile kind of just short flings. I wouldn't call them uh
relationships.
relationships maybe in his head, because I know he kind of jumps in full force. Like it
Mm-hmm.
seems and I think that has a lot to do with his like mental health issues and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of just fully throws himself into a relationship. But he had a lot of high profile, like I said, I would classify them as flings, but those all happened after Ariana Grande.
Right. So it kind of like broke him in. Or, I mean, obviously there was like Kim K, and then Kim K got into fashion with after Kanye, like all of these things that you like start to see happen where they kind of like pivot in, or there's so many examples of that, but I feel like, like it's all about their perception. Like Rosalia was somebody who everybody was kind of like, I feel like a lot of people in the reggaeton world or like the urban music world were like, oh, she's just trying to be like us. Like she's from Spain. She's a flamenco singer. Why is she dressing like this? Why is she dressing like she's a part of this group? Like it's really weird
Yeah, there's
culturally.
been a lot of uh stuff in her, especially when she won, like she was nominated for, well, it wasn't just her, it was a lot of these Spanish artists that were
Mm-hmm.
nominated for Latin Grammys, and people were pissed.
Yeah, which makes sense. So I think that for her, she needed that legitimacy. And now she's dating him, and he's like very authentically in that world. And now all of a
Puerto
sudden,
Rican
both of
as well.
them,
Or
yep.
he's
And
not as well. He's Puerto Rican.
yes. And so now they've been doing all of this, and they kind of would do a lot of like media thing, I guess interviews together, obviously show up everywhere, like showing a lot of what was going on behind the scenes publicly, like in the back of the Ubers or whatever they were doing. Like not in the Uber, a car, I'm sure. But so you just start to wonder, like, okay, I know what you're doing. And then you're starting to be seen more publicly. I think about this too with like Bad Bunny with the
I was about
Kardashians.
to say, what do you think, like in regards to, because I mean, if he's truly happy, like who cares, right? I mean, ultimately it does not affect
Mm-hmm.
you, but in the grand scheme of things, it's just really disappointing to see him with this family that is known for appropriating cultures time and time again. And
Yeah.
most recently, their culture that they want to represent and appropriate is a Latino culture. So, oh, let's talk like, oh wow, all of a sudden, what's her name? The youngest one is naming her things besito and saying little things like this and that. And now all of a sudden, Kendall is dating Bad Bunny. Like, please, like from a
Yeah.
communication standpoint and a PR standpoint, that's like, oh my gosh, seriously, that just,
It just seems very obvious, like that
yeah.
we could see what's happening. So I think that's what it is that makes it very cringe for us. But yeah, I'm really curious like what people think about this kind of concept. And like I said, this episode, if y'all want to listen to it, Hidden Brain Never Go to Vegas is what it's called. And this woman who does these studies, her name is Elisabeth Currid-Halkett. Elizabeth Curridhalkett. That's how you spell her name. But I think it's like really cool how they talk about this stuff, and that's what kept coming to mind from you for Bad Bunny. I'm like, this will feed into Lizzo actually, but I'm like, we think of these people and we're like, oh my god, they're for the culture, they're for us, they're for the culture, and then they start to do these weird things, and you're like, oh no, you're about the money.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you're okay, let us know what you think. If you're watching this on YouTube, comment below. If you're listening to this, like, please tell us when this episode posts. Like, please share your thoughts with us. I'm working on my like getting a number so people could give us feedback, and like we could say, oh, call this number and let us know what you think, and we could play it back at the end of the, when
Mm-hmm.
we're doing it. So that's being worked on. So hopefully I'll have that something for you guys very soon. But But in the meantime, freaking post on social and let us know what you think in regards to this whole Bad Bunny. Okay, so like because I think some people are like, oh, who cares? Let them be happy. But I think it's just so much more beyond that.
Mm-hmm.
I think if it was anybody else, I don't think people would have had an issue with it, right? But the fact that it's with a Kar Jenner, because she's not a Kardashian, she's a
Mm-hmm.
Jenner. So the fact that it had, and somebody said, oh, their dad, no, no, no. Kendall and Kylie are just white. They're not Armenian. They're not like, they're just white. Like their parents are Caitlyn, formerly known as Bruce Jenner, and
Mm-hmm.
uh and Chris Jenner. Like, let's get the information straight, right?
Mm-hmm.
But obviously the family in general, but these two have also had a history of like creating t-shirts with like Biggie, and then they're with hoops or a bit, like with Tupac and with this and with that. Like that's when they were very into. Now, if you've noticed, the whole clan has kind of shifted.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's really dating any black guys anymore except for Chris. And now they're moving over again to Latinos and, white men.
Mm-hmm. So
So there's a
it's
lot of history, not just like, oh, we want them to be happy. It's just really disappointing when you see somebody like Bad Bunny, who has become so huge within the Latino community and who people love so much, to associate himself with somebody who, with a family who continues to appropriate and just, you know, they had big butts when they, and made that in fashion. And don't tell me like they can't say your butt does not fluctuate that much.
yeah. We all know. But that's the part that's the disappointing part. It's not just that he's like Latino for us, but that he speaks out about things that are happening in Puerto Rico, gentrification. He's been speaking up about the culture the whole time. And it's like, it just makes you wonder, were you just saying all of this for the money? I'm not sure if you saw, there was a cover that he was on. Now I'm forgetting which one it was. Was it the Time magazine one? And in the article, he talked about, I always said I wouldn't do things in English, but I'm losing out financially on a lot of opportunities. So you never know, you might see me do that. Or like people want to comment on who I'm dating, but I'm always going to do what I want. I'm just a little boy. Like he said something like that. And it's like, bro, you're
You're
mid
not a
to
little
late
boy.
20s. You're not a
You're a
little
grown
boy.
man.
Like
You're a grown
you're
man,
a grown
please.
man. And so
Ew,
you
that's so cringe. I didn't hear that part. I'm just a little boy. I heard the other part. But that's so cringe. A grown man in his late 20s being like, I'm just a little boy.
like, yeah, like he's just trying to
No.
say, like, I'm just figuring things out, which is fine. You're figuring things out, but you just, it kind of made it feel like to me, I have to say, I've been like very, I'm not gonna say sad about it, but I've been kind of like, oh, like I was just so happy to champion him. Like he's always for the
Yeah.
people, he's always for the people, he's out there doing stuff. And I'm like, now it feels like a marketing strategy, which is just an instant turn off to me. Cause
Right.
I'm like, I get part of it is gonna be marketing strategy, but not all of it. So
Well, speaking into like, we have these fans and we become like, you're for the people, you're for the culture, you're for the everything. This month, things hit the fan for Lizzo.
mm-hmm.
She was slapped with a lawsuit from three former dancers, and she said that they said that she subjected them to sexual and racial discrimination, fat shaming, and physical and emotional abuse.
Crazy.
Yes.
That's
And again, what do you know? Like, you know what I mean? It's like, what is real? What isn't? What I could see Lizzo, and this is no defense of her, but I'm just saying, I could see Lizzo being like, not like blurring the lines between boss and friend.
mm-hmm.
And being like, and thinking she's just being a friend and being like, oh, playful. But like, you have to be aware, when somebody's on your payroll, you can't have those blurred lines. You
Right.
have to understand what you're doing. And, you know, I mean, again, I don't know, everything. I think for the last few years, she's been so celebrated and everything because of body positivity and everything, but like, are you, based on part of the thing that I read of the lawsuit, I don't know if she was actually fat shaming somebody or if she said something, because apparently this person was stressed out and they were asking if they were okay. And she took that to mean like, you need to lose weight. But apparently there was never any specific thing saying you're fat, you need to lose weight. So I think there's also a little bit of like you know what I mean? Like miscommunication on certain parts. I don't know. What do you think of like everything you've read so far, Ellie?
So yeah, I mean, I thought I had read it was mostly the manager, I guess, of the dancers, but it's just difficult. I don't know. It's you. I definitely agree with you that I think sometimes the line can blur, and I feel like in the entertainment world, I can imagine these people having access to like a lot of alcohol, drugs. Like I think they were said they were at a strip club, or
Yeah, in
there was some,
Amsterdam.
yeah, something like that. You're out partying. Like when I was young in my early 20s, when I was young, like I'm still not young, but when I was in my like very early 20s, like 6 years in a row, I went to South by Southwest with the PR agencies I worked at. And the last one I worked at was basically with friends, and we're all young people. We have clients out partying. Like things get a little, things do get blurry.
Yeah.
And we're at work, and like nothing to that level was happening, but it was just like you come out of it and you're like, oh my God, like
Did I really do that?
you're just like, and again, we're all having a great time. It wasn't, we all had each other's back and all of that, but it's just kind of like, I could see how you're having a really great time, you're celebrating. But I think, at her level, she needs to make sure that she has the right people around her who are calling her out, her keeping everybody in check. You know, is for some reason this woman, it seems like there was like a very religious woman, but at the same time, that religious manager kept saying inappropriate things um that were really weird. And it's like, I think when you're at that level, like you have the resources to make sure that you're on top of shit at this
Yeah,
point, right? And like there's professionalism. It's like, do we need to have training for all of us to make sure
yeah,
that we're all acting in the right way? Like I just kind of feel like there's no excuse. Like again, you have the money, you have the resources,
totally. I
do
think
that.
also, you're responsible for who's around you, for your team.
Yeah.
So if it is a manager or saying derogatory things, she's ultimately responsible for that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I think based on experience, I will say like sometimes, there's like she's not meant to deal with personnel issues, right? Like that's what her manager is there for, whatever. But um there still has to be a way for them to communicate what's going on with her. Again, we don't know. There's always three sides to every story, right? Their side, her side, and the truth. Um, but I think it's so disappointing to so many people because she has been such a role model. She has
Mm-hmm.
been so outspoken about, her body is her body and she will do what she wants, and she's more, she wants to be healthy and strong and not be, so I think unfortunately when these things come on, like these things come out, um in whatever level that they are, true or not true or somewhere in between, that still, that obviously is going to affect her. But I think she didn't help her case with her statement that she posted.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
really short, really kind of, do you have it in front of you? I think I can get it in front of me and we can, let's see. But yeah,
So
I think that was you.
I essentially remember her saying that it's she's like, I can't believe it. It's like basically it's ridiculous the things that they're saying, which I actually don't think they're that ridiculous.
Mhm.
Um, Usually I choose not to respond, but these are unbelievable as they sound, too outrageous to not be addressed. The sensationalized stories are coming from former employees who have already publicly admitted they were told their behavior was inappropriate and unprofessional. I am not the villain. She's like, I don't want to be a victim, but I know I'm not the villain that people have portrayed me. I'm open with my sexuality and expressing myself, but can't accept or allow people to use the openness to make me out to be something I'm not. Yeah. So she's like, I know what it feels like to be body shamed on a daily basis. I would never criticize or terminate an employee because of their rate. I'm hurt. I'm not going to let the good work I've done be overshadowed by this. I want to thank everyone who's reached out in support to lift me up during this difficult time. So, I mean, from what I had read, I thought it was the manager doing that. I didn't think it was Lizzo. So if that is the case, then I feel like
Yeah, they did accuse her as part of it because they said at the Amsterdam, at least one person said when they were at that Amsterdam strip club that she was the one like egging them on to touch them and everything like that, to touch the
okay. But not the body shaming stuff or the weight, just the weird.
I don't know. I mean, again, I don't
It's
know.
so
Like,
confusing.
it
Yeah.
is, I've read parts and pieces of the whole thing and it does get really, really confusing. But,
Yeah.
since we are on music, we've been talking about music people. The MTV Music Awards are coming.
Yes.
And a couple of very cool things. The Video of the Year nominees are mostly all women, with the exception of Sam Smith, but he does have a woman on his record with Kim Petras. She's a trans woman.
And I believe he says he's non-binary now.
Okay, he might, or they might say that they're not, they're non-binary. I could totally see that. So, but otherwise, we have Doja Cat, Miley Cyrus, Nicki Minaj, Olivia Rodrigo, SZA, and Taylor Swift. Jeez Louise.
So we had two Latinas
as the Video of the Year. So
amazing.
Yes. Hold on. Sorry guys, I keep coughing, so I'm trying to put myself on mute so I'm not like coughing into the mic. Which is very cool because this is an like it tends to be so heavily skewed male. I mean, growing up it was, and obviously you do have females, but it just seems like it's really nice, and so many women of color as well, which we have Doja Cat, Nicki Minaj, Olivia Rodrigo, and SZA. So I think
Karol
that's really...
G and Shakira, two Colombians.
Wait, I don't see them on here as Video of the Year
For the nominations for all female artist of the year.
Okay. So this was for video.
For the video specifically?
Yeah.
Yeah. Artist of the year is the one that has two Latinas.
So who are on for the Artist of the Year?
So Doja Cat, Miley, Nicki, Olivia, Sam Smith and Kim Petras, like you said, SZA, Taylor Swift.
So it's just everybody plus Shakira and Karol G. Okay. Well, speaking of Shakira is now getting Ellie, what? You're just like, Heck. Next time,
I'm also referencing the whole list right next to me. Best Latin category.
I feel like I'm just like, and you're like, girl, get it together. This is the Chisme episode. We're supposed to be light and you're supposed to be happy. You gotta like, this is not just your professional eye. It's just a general fun. But next time you have to have wine now. We'll do
an evening one. She's pressuring me to drink, people. You see this?
Well, speaking of, Shakira is getting the Michael Jackson Video Vanguard Award this year. And she's the first South American to do so. And I think she might be the first Latina, unless Jennifer Lopez has gotten it. I don't know. I can't think off the top of my head, but the fact that she's getting it, well deserved, long overdue. I feel like we're in this time right now that not just Latino artists, but Spanish speaking artists are really kind of like getting this really huge momentum, because obviously we have like Bad Bunny, who did this full sellout arena tour. And then we have Shakira, Carol G right now, who is just, I think her tour has made over $1 billion, I think now. You have Becky G, Beso Pluma, like all of these artists are really kind of just elevating at this one moment. And it makes me happy, but it also makes me wary, because I remember when Ricky Martin was coming out, and even when Jennifer Lopez started, they're like, oh, it's this Latin explosion. And then everybody kind of like, they were making English language music. There was a lot of Latinos making English language or bilingual music. And then all of a sudden they fell off, like, oh, it's this Latin explosion. And then like people got to like, not people got tired of them. What is considered the general market in the US got tired of them. Right. So right now it makes me really happy to see like all of these artists really exploding, but it also makes me feel very wary. How are you feeling about that?
Yeah. Yeah. It always feels like one step forward, two steps back. So you're like, I want to be excited. I know for me in the back of my mind, I'm always thinking, oh, I don't want to, how much credit can you give to these, organizations, brands, like whether it's MTV or anybody else? Cause you're like, great, you had your first. I was looking up what you said about Shakira. She's definitely the first Colombian, first South American artist to receive the Video Vanguard Award. So it's like great win for Colombians, but it's also like, why, why is she the first now at this point? So
Totally.
I think it's hard. It's like we always have to kind of celebrate, want to be excited, but also hold these places accountable, because that's the only time that they make these changes. But yeah, it's really awesome. And so I think remembering to celebrate, even though in the back of our minds we feel like we should be getting more credit.
Yeah. Well, that's like the super important thing, right? In regards to us supporting one another, supporting the community, supporting Blue Beetle. Let's
Yes.
Right now we're in a writer strike and the SAG after strike. So these actors, they can't promote their movies. Anything that they're promoting is stuff that they filmed before the strike, right? So we were talking about this and I was like, wait, do we talk about it? Because it's a strike move. Like it's this one, but again, we have to promote. And I think I sent you something saying that it's already going to be going into um like Max, onto the streaming platform, I think next
Right.
month.
Yeah, so fast. This is a interesting title. Blue Beetle loses its wings at the global box office. So sad.
Well, I mean,
Worldwide total 81 million so far. I just think it's crazy that DC wanted to do all of this. This is like their big movie. I had literally never heard of it until I went to see Barbie and I saw it in the trailer. So I was like, how come this is the first time I'm ever hearing about Blue Beetle? So they couldn't promote, as in they couldn't go do press interviews during this time of the strike, which started in, was it June, May?
no, the writer strike started earlier. I think the SAG after strike started either at the end of June or beginning of July, I believe.
So why
Because
couldn't
in the
they?
middle of like during Barbie, whatchamacallit.
Y-
But look at all of the things they did with Barbie, right? Like even outside of interviews, how much they were promoting it, everything that they were doing for it. Blue Beetle has not even got a tenth of that type of promotion. And this
no.
happens all the time when it comes to like our community and our movies. And then we're also our own worst enemies, because then we're going to be like, that doesn't represent me. I'm sorry, but there's not a real person, a real Blue Beetle person. It's a movie. Like we continually do this over and over and over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think I'm not sure that they were promoting it to our communities enough though for this one. Like I think stuff like In the Heights in the past, I can think of other movies that tried to promote and get to us. I feel like this I didn't ever see anything. I didn't even see like social media ads, any kind of creative they did. So I just wonder what happened. And it's Warner Brothers.
Yeah, I know. I mean,
It's not like an
I don't
independent
know.
film. So
Right. And it's really frustrating because, oh, apparently the director tried to get it pushed back until after the strike ended and they refused.
they should have done that.
But then if you're refusing to push it back, and this is in the middle of summer, right?
Mhm.
Like summer is when all the blockbuster comes out. Then why are you not promoting it? It just feels like purposeful.
Yeah. I don't think the strike is a good enough excuse for that. You could have done free screenings for everyday people. You could have gone to Latino communities. You could have said, giveaways. I don't know. There's just so much they could have done. It wasn't just about influencers and celebrities. I just think they could have thought of fun, creative ways to do things.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to kind of digress a little bit because I don't know if you've seen this video go around. And I don't even know why it popped into my head, but it is this woman. And I'm not going to share her name or anything because if you've seen it, you've seen it. If you haven't, like, I don't think I think that particular video was removed. And it was for a podcast. And she was being, her and her friend are talking. And she was talking about faux influencers. Did you see that video?
oh no.
Oh my gosh. And the reason I wanted to bring this up is because we have a lot of people who are that listen that are not like huge. I don't consider myself an influencer. I guess technically we all are in some way, but I'm not like this huge person, whatever. That's fine. I'm totally cool with that. However, there was this woman going and she was saying, I'm so tired of these faux influencers, people that have like 2,000 followers who wake up and go, oh my gosh, guys, get ready with me. And they have like 20 likes, no comments. And it got picked up by a lot of people because people were like, how the hell are you supposed to start?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like when you started, how many followers did you have when you first started, Ellie? I had
Well,
zero when I
zero.
first
Everybody
started.
has zero. I was like, is this a trick question? Oh, we're hilarious.
Right? Like we all have to grow. We all grow at our some when
Right.
before I switched over to the Wine and Chisme, I had less than 1,000 I think I had like 800 something followers.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm in the 4,000s. But here's my thing. I would rather build slowly and have people who, because I'm trying to build community. I'm not just trying to build like followers for followers' sake, right? I'm that person who, if I see somebody and they have just started, like I try and not vet, but I try and look at everybody who follows me. I don't always get to, but I try
Mm-hmm.
to because if you can tell it's obviously a fake account, I remove them as a follower.
Right.
Like I would rather do that and have true community than just let all these fake or bots follow me and have like 10,000 followers just to have 10,000 followers.
Right.
So the fact that, go ahead, I'm sorry. I was just so irritated the fact that this lady said that as if people can't grow. People
Yeah, it's just
can't, like you got to start somewhere.
it's just judgmental. And I mean, what I can share is my perspective because I do some influencer management for work. And, on the, like you said, everybody kind of starts from a certain place and there are different tiers. So I think it's called micro. If I know, I mean, I
Yeah.
know it's called micro. I forget what the number is and it
I think
changes
it's
a
under
lot.
10,000 is considered a micro influencer or a nano influencer. I don't know. Whatever,
Let's
smaller.
see. Yeah, there's a micro influencer between 10,000 to 100,000, but
Then it must be a nano
nano.
influence. Yeah.
Nano is 1K to 10K. Yeah. And so a lot of brands actually they like to work with nano, which is under 10K, because a lot of times, like you said, people have a very cultivated, like passionate audience. So, if you think about it, if they're going for somebody with 1 million followers, like let's say a celebrity, a lot of them are bots. People don't have the time to clean out their followers. they don't really have a one-on-one relationship with them. But if you have a smaller audience, like they know, okay, I'm going to work with her because she could really get my message to these people. And more than likely, it's going to drive them to take whatever action for the brands. And then when you're pulling, let's say your demographics, if I ask you, oh, okay, I'm a brand, I want Gen Z as the audience. I want people in the US or maybe US and Canada or whatever, right? Like you want your numbers, you're cultivating a specific type of audience. So the bigger and bigger they get, there's kind of less control of who those followers are. So that's actually a strategy people do, is they kind of try to get out the people that aren't a good fit, that they don't want or they don't feel like do anything for them. Like if you're a beauty influencer, you probably don't want men following you if they're not going to be, looking for that advice or products from you. So it's kind of interesting how it works on the back end, but I feel like that's just it is very judgmental, but I think it also speaks to like a lot of us are just kind of tired of seeing some of this and like seeing the same stuff over and over.
Yeah.
But you're not going to grow unless you're very creative, but people have to try and see what works.
Ellie, I have a confession.
What?
I'm getting buzzed.
Love that for you. Not even 11:30 a.m.
Because I haven't eaten anything today. And obviously with every episode I drink, and I didn't pour myself like a whole glass. Like I poured myself a pretty small glass. But because
Let's see the glass. Let's see the glass. Okay, there you go.
But because I'm drinking on an empty stomach, I took a drink and I was like, ooh.
You're like, oh, this hit me. Oh, good. I gotta get some. Now I'm gonna get some good chisme out of you. That's hilarious.
Oh my God.
That would have been me. I needed strong coffee. We're gonna figure out this groove.
We are. Well, last month was our first one, right? This is our second one. I just need you to have a little bit more energy.
A little more wine.
A little more wine.
I told you it.
Coffee.
Listen, it's hard for me sometimes to give some of these people credit. Not our people, but I'm just like, guys, we need to see more. We need to see more happening. But anyway, now there's been a lot of, I feel like, exciting, like, Latino celebrity moves. So I think it's great.
Well, the other couple of things that we had, and if there's something else that you want to bring up, that's fine, because whatever. Recently the California team representing the United States, they actually beat a team from Texas to represent the United States in the Little League World Series. Team USA won. They beat the country Curacao for the Little League World Series. And I was actually asking my fiance, I was actually asking Antonio, like, is the US always open? He goes, yeah, because it's theirs. Little League World Series originated in the US. So whatchamacallit, so yeah, they will always be in it. So I was like, oh, okay, I didn't realize that, but now I know, because I didn't watch a lot of Little League. I played softball growing up. So
yeah. Okay, we got to have him on for a little sports cameo.
I know, right? Oh God, anything baseball. Geez Louise. Okay, why don't you, you were adding some like career work tech stuff, so I'll let you kind of lead those if you want.
Sure. So, I kind of wanted to hear what people thought about some of this tech stuff. So there was this article that came out, I think it was in Fortune magazine. Uber's CEO, this reporter told him, hey, did you know that I took an Uber to get here? Not even 3 miles, like in New York City, you don't travel that far. Yeah. And he said the fare was $52. And the CEO of Uber was like, oh my God, what? Like, he was shocked by that. He's like, how does this guy not even know that this is the case? Like, how high the prices are. And he kind of recovered a little bit quickly, but he was definitely stunned about the price, which just is insane to me, that this man doesn't even, he obviously he's taking them and he's not even looking at the price anymore, not realizing like what everyday people have to spend. Like, I just thought that was pretty wild.
Well, yeah, I just recently went into Denver for the Podcast Movement conference, and literally the drive from the airport to the resort was less than 10 minutes. And thankfully my friends took me on the way back, but on the way there, it was like $30.
Not even 10 minutes.
Not even 10 minutes. And I'm like, what in the freaking world? And I think we've gotten so used to Lyft and to Uber, and I always compare which price is going to be better before I decide which one I'm taking. But I feel like we're just being taken advantage of because we've become so accustomed to it.
Right.
And I feel like a lot of these employees, they're not still not considered net technically employees in California. Because they spent so much money to make sure that they were not employees. But I think it's just it I don't think enough is still going to the drivers, right? Like I did it really quick a long time ago for a little bit. And if I stayed when I lived in Dallas, when I stayed within Dallas, it was fine. But if I had, for example, I one night had a ride from like almost downtown Dallas to almost Plano, which is, let's just say like a 30-mile drive. And it didn't tell you at that time where you were going. It just said to pick them up. It didn't, and how much it was. It didn't tell you the mileage. Well, let's say 20 miles. I don't know, 20 miles. But then you don't get paid going back because where you're going back. I was going to an area and the time it was, nobody was going to be taking an Uber back into Dallas. So I literally didn't. So you go back out there and then you're not getting paid for going back into the area that's closest to you or the area where you can make money. If that is still not the case, please keep me honest. Let me know. But that was why I didn't continue with it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's just so interesting. I think a part of it is I feel that it's just so easy to pay for things now. I had Apple Pay on my phone. I took it off.
Oh, it is easy because you could just click.
Yeah, you're just like tap, 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 tap. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to take this off because I feel like I'm not even thinking about it anymore. And I'm like, I want to actually have a little bit more thought that goes into this stuff because everything is automatic. Like I go to Starbucks, I pay through the app. If I use a Lyft, it goes through the app and you don't even necessarily look at the price sometimes because you're looking at it beforehand, but then,
oh girl, I always look at the price.
Well, I'm saying like once I look at it when I'm ordering it and I'm kind of comparing, or you could wait a little bit. And if you wait a little bit longer for it, it's a little bit less, or depending on the car you choose sometimes. But I just feel like it's just different from like getting a receipt, signing a receipt. It kind of disappears once you've done the process. So I do think it's crazy. And, forget like tipping or, oh my God, I saw this crazy, it was some, I think guy on TikTok that was saying how, how sometimes if you go to Target or maybe like Petco or however, they're like, do you want to donate $1 for dogs or save a dog's life or save a child's life? And you're like, you're like, again, like, I don't, sometimes I'm like, I don't know.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie, with the tipping culture, there's some places I'm just not gonna tip anymore.
No.
Like I agree with that. Like tipping culture has gotten so out of hand. How about we pay people a living wage?
Yes. Why should it be our responsibility?
Yeah. And my thing is, like, in California, even if you're in the service industry, you still get minimum wage. When I worked in Texas, I got $2.13 an hour, and I'm sure that it probably has not changed. $2.13 an hour plus tips, and they say, oh, it's because your tips will average out to minimum wage or more. $2.13 an hour. At
That's
least
crazy.
in California, and I'm not sure which other states, you still get minimum wage. And in the city of San Diego, that's even a little bit more. Minimum wage in the city of San Diego is $16.30. So if you work in the city of San Diego and you work in the service industry, you are getting minimum wage plus your tips. They don't do it to cover, right? To cover the gap.
Right. They're like, we'll pay as little amount as we can. Yeah, it's getting pretty crazy. Another thing that was announced maybe I think a week or so ago was that Instagram is working on labels for AI generated content to prevent misinformation, which I think is great. I wonder how that's going to work for everything. I mean, the one thing that I was thinking was that I know
Smile,
that
girl.
I
Look
know
like
that
you're
like
having fun. I feel like I've been torturing you.
really
Yes,
um
you're so serious today.
well, I don't know why. But anyway, so Instagram was
Sorry.
saying how like they're working on these labels for AI generated content, and they're saying that I don't know, I think it's interesting because like a lot of people say they use AI to generate, let's say, captions, and it helps people generate it like more, more and more and more quickly. And so I feel like, what are you like? I think that people should at least know or have an idea, because you kind of feel like you're never doing enough. So I think that in some
That's so true.
cases, it should say this person used AI to help write this. I don't know where the disclaimer should go, or if they used it to edit images, or I don't
But
know,
how would
because
they
it,
know? How are they determining that?
well, I think that's what it is. They're trying to work on it.
Yeah.
They're trying to,
Because
they're
I've
trying to
used
like
AI
figure
for
out the
for some
labels.
captions. I know I
Mm-hmm.
have, just because sometimes I'm like, sometimes I've gotten writer's block or something. Now, I don't do it for everything, and I'm learning how to use it a little bit better, if that makes
Mm-hmm.
sense. I'm learning, but um sometimes you just are like, and I always change it. I don't always keep it exactly the same. I always end up changing some stuff in it. But I think that, yeah, like how is that done? Because apparently when you start using AI, it starts becoming more closer to your voice. So me and you could write the like we could write a post for the same thing, but with different points of views, and we're gonna get very different things based on what you've
Right.
already put into it and what I've put into it. So that's why I'm
Yeah.
like, how do they know?
I mean, I'm curious. It says that they're working on it, so I'm sure this will change. Like it says that they might say something like, I'm looking at the article, image generated by Meta AI. I guess also if you use their AI, obviously it's easier for them to tell, or they'll label it so that it could be identified, or if you use AI tools to create the text or let's say the video. I just think it's good. I think all that transparency is great for
Yeah.
people to know. It's not that there's anything wrong with it, obviously, and there's so much stuff that we should be using it for, so we don't have to spend as much time. But I think
But there
it's just
definitely,
great.
like you're saying, there's definite instances. There was an attorney who used AI and the case didn't even exist. Like it gave them like a case to reference that apparently that didn't exist or was completely. So you can't just like put stuff in and regurgitate it word for word, especially if you're trying to do like research or something. You have to make sure that's right.
Right, and ask for some of that proof. So that's really interesting. Yeah, I mean, I think that's it on the tech side. This AI stuff is really interesting for us as creators.
Yeah, I think it'll continue to, obviously will continue to evolve and everything, but um I didn't even pull up birthdays. Let me pull up birthdays for this month um because we did it last month and I don't want to whatchamacallit.
Ooh, Jason Momoa, August 1st.
Oh, hello, Jason Momoa.
He's a
I'm
good
like, how
one.
you doing? How you doing? And then let's see, we have Jason Momoa,
Michael
like you said,
Ealy, August 3rd.
Sam
Oh,
Mendes, um, and then
Martin
um,
Sheen, August
Martin
3rd.
Sheen. Yes.
Have you seen oh my gosh, what's that show that Martin Sheen is on now with Selena
Oh,
Gomez?
Grace and Frankie.
No, oh wait, no, that's not Martin Sheen. Oh my god, you know who I'm thinking about?
Ooh.
I'm gonna look it up while you go to the next
Okay.
birthday.
So also Michael Ealy's birthday is on August 3rd.
Yep.
I am like, I've had such a crush on him. Martha Stewart. If you're a football fan, Tom Brady. I mean, I'm a football fan, but I don't really give a crap about Tom Brady. August 4th, Billy Bob Thornton, Abigail
Wow, I haven't heard from him in a
Spencer,
while.
Greta
Ooh, Greta
Gerwig.
Gerwig. Yay,
Yeah.
Barbie.
Yes.
Do you know
She
Cole and
did,
Dylan Sprouse?
yes, actually. Okay, so for people that are my age, they played Ben on Friends. They were playing the little kid on Big Daddy.
Mm-hmm.
Just in case you don't know.
And then they're
Uh
also in Archie.
oh yeah.
One of
Well,
them,
one
I
of
think it
them
was
is.
Cole. Mm-hmm.
So on August 6th, which is my sister's birthday, Soleil Moon Frye, also known as Punky Brewster, Punky Power. I used to love Punky Brewster when I was growing up. And Leslie Odom Jr., who was in Hamilton, and he's a big Broadway star. Um, and then August 7th, Charlize Theron. Apparently, it's not Theron, it's Theron.
Tron. Okay.
Theron, because she's South African. And then August 8th, Megan Good. The first thing I ever saw Megan Good in was this movie called Eve's Bayou. Oh,
Really? I never watched that.
oh yes, girl, you got to watch it. So good.
She's
Dustin
in
Hoffman and
the
Jason
show
Chazet.
Harlem now on Amazon Prime. Have you seen that one?
No, I haven't seen it. Okay, I'm
It's
gonna
a
have to
fun
watch it.
one. It's kind of like a kind of Sex in the City-ish,
Ooh,
but they're
okay.
up, yeah, they're uptown, they're in Harlem, and it's all women of color. It's really fun.
Oh, well then I'm gonna have to watch it. Okay, Anna Kendrick from what's the movie? The one where they're singing Pitch Perfect.
Yes.
August 10th, Antonio Banderas, Rosanna
Mm.
Arquette. I'm just going through the people that I think are the most like relevant. August 11th, Chris Hemsworth, Viola
Ooh,
Davis.
love
We love
her.
our queen, Viola Davis.
She's amazing. She posts the
Yes,
cutest stuff on Instagram, always
she
very
does.
positive.
She really does. And then we have comedian, and she's been in a lot of sitcoms, Yvette Nicole Brown as well. Um, on August 12th, Sebastian Stan, otherwise known as Bucky Barnes, is August 13th. Mila Kunis, Halle Berry, Steve Martin, Marcia Gay Harden, Catherine Bell. They're all August 14th. August 15th, Jennifer Lawrence, Alejandro Inarritu, he's a director. Deborah Messing and Ben Affleck on the 15th. The 16th, Steve Carell, Angela Bassett. Okay, let me just, how amazing does she still look?
She's incredible.
Like, seriously, I remember when I watched her and What's Love Got to Do with It, and I swear she still looks the same. Like, she's got a banging body. She's
Mm-hmm.
freaking hella smart. She's just
Mm-hmm.
like, she's just freaking amazing. So,
So talented.
so
James
talented.
Cameron.
On what? Oh, yeah, on the 16th, Madonna on the 16th, who I used to be obsessed with growing up. And then Robert De Niro on the 17th, Sean Penn, and Donnie Wahlberg. I used to be a blockhead as well. That's what they call the New Kids on the Block bands.
Love that. Edward Norton.
Edward Norton, Malcolm
Amazing.
Jamar Warner, other known as Theo from The Cosby Show.
Christian
And
Slater. Andy
mhm.
Samberg.
And then on the 19th, Matthew Perry, John Stamos, Kara Sedgwick. Let's see.
I'm like, who are the names who
I
recognized?
know.
Oh,
Yeah,
Andrew
exactly.
Garfield. Andrew
Andrew
Garfield,
Garfield,
Amy
Amy
Adams,
Adams, Joan
Demi
Allen. She
Lovato.
was the Demi Lovato. Joan Allen was the mom in Pleasantville.
Oh,
Yes. I know really random celebrity information.
you're really good at the names because I would recognize their face, but not their names.
Well, Loretta
I was
Devine, who I love Loretta Devine. Oh my gosh. She had
Kim
one of the best
Cattrall.
storylines on Waiting to Exhale. Just saying.
Hmm. Who
Hayden
else?
Panettiere, Kim Cattrall. Have you been
I
watching the
have
updated Sex in the City?
no, but I know she had a little cameo and people were going nuts, and she was very
Yes.
much like, I'm only on this for 2 seconds.
Yes, she really was.
But she
Um,
has her own show on Netflix. She has a show or a movie.
she's on How I she well, she's like the narrator for How I Met My Father because I watch it.
She no, she also has a show. It was like a young kid. Gosh, I just saw this.
Kobe Bryant was on
Glamorous.
August 23rd.
She's on this show called Glamorous. It's on Netflix. They have a season. It's a
Oh, no.
drama.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
So How I Met My Father is on Hulu, and that stars Hilary Duff as the main character of how she's trying to find her father,
Mm-hmm.
or how not how her father. She's talking about how she met the kid's father, and Kim Cattrall plays the older version of Hilary Duff.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
I like
and
Hilary
she's
Duff.
freaking hilarious. She's like, always. It's very like she still brings her sass and pizzazz to it.
I love that.
Ava DuVernay, her birthday was August 24th.
I saw her once in LA.
Did you? And Dave Chappelle, they share the same birthday. Did you
Oh,
say
wow.
anything?
No, we were at lunch at I don't know if you know this restaurant called Great White. It's like this Australian cafe. They have a few of them.
No.
So I was there with my friend and we actually saw, I think it was two celebrities there. I think they were in town for some award show, but we weren't gonna like chase them down in a restaurant, but they
Mm.
were kind of sitting next to us with the group. And I was like, oh my God, that's Ava DuVernay. I just remember recognizing
I
her.
would totally be fangirling too. Queen Kiki Palmer, her
I love Kiki
birthday,
Palmer.
yes. Oh, yeah, I love her. August 26th. And apparently, her and her boyfriend are together. Like they didn't break up. I guess they just had some issues or whatever after what he wrote, but they were together on her birthday.
Well,
They
did you
posted
see
about
that
it.
she posted her booty for her 30th?
Good
Dirty
for her.
30? I know.
Good.
I was like,
Good for her. She
she's
probably
like, I
was
do not
like,
care.
I could see her coming home and being like, all right, this is how it's going to be. And if you don't like it, you can walk out the door.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm here. I'm with you. If I didn't want to be with you, I wouldn't be here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I could
Good for her.
totally see her just being like, if I didn't want to be here, I wouldn't be here. If you don't want to be here, there's the door.
Yep.
But you can't be putting this bullshit out again.
Yep. I love
Right?
that for her. Yeah. Check out her post. It's cute. She did a whole
Okay.
like photo shoot. She put like 30 on her butt.
Oh,
I'm
good.
so happy for
I'm gonna have
her.
to look at it. Yes. August 27th, Paul Rubens. It would have been his birthday, also known as Pee Wee Herman. He just recently passed away.
Yes.
And then Alexa Pena Vega, she was a Spy Kids original kid. It was
Wow.
her birthday as well. See, girl, I know so many like
So many
random,
names.
yes, so many random stuff. August 28th, Jack Black. Um, Shania Twain, Jennifer Coolidge, also known as Stifler's mom. And then let's see what else. The 30th
Shania
is
Twain,
Cameron.
I heard she has a crazy memoir. I basically listened to this book club podcast that reads
Uh-huh.
the memoirs and they share like all the chisme about it. And she has a crazy life story where I don't know if you heard about. Did you hear about this? Because I think they have like a
Well,
documentary on
I've
her as well.
followed her for a while because I was a super fan. I met her very before a concert very quickly. So I have her autograph. And when I took my sisters to her concert. Um, and yeah, she was 21 or 22 when her parents passed away. Apparently, she was also like essayed by her stepfather, but they got in a car accident, they passed away, so she had to take on all of her brothers and sisters. And they already weren't rich, were already struggling, and then as her having to take on all of that, she was doing whatever she could in regards to taking music jobs, but taking other jobs, taking this, taking that. When she met her ex-husband, sorry, Mutt Lang, everybody was like, what? How did this happen? And
Mhm.
they moved to Switzerland and he ends up cheating on her quote unquote best friend. And they get together. And then she ends up in this grieving process, ends up falling in love with her ex-best friend's husband, whom they get married.
They did a swap, which I think is
Yeah, they
hilarious.
did a swap. So, and then she ends up getting Lyme disease, which is why she took a break from music for so long because she thought she was losing her voice. And so that's, the gist of it,
So
I think, right?
you're basically like, I know her full story. I don't need to read the memoir. I was just shocked at the whole thing with the ex, with how her best friend was like, she's like
Girl.
telling her best friend, I think he's cheating on me. And she's like, he would never. And she was the one cheating. Can you imagine? I just couldn't believe that. That was the thing that shot. And I'm like, this woman has been through so much. And then she ended up basically being consoled. I think the best friend's husband was the one that told her it was happening. And
I
so
think so.
then they start comforting each other, and then they end up together, and then they end up being a great match. And I just think this is like great. That's the craziest shit ever.
I know. It's so nuts.
So.
But that, she lives back in the US. I think, her ex didn't want, like, I don't know. But she's back home back in the US. She grew up in Canada. Sorry, she's not. But yeah, she does have a very crazy life.
Wild story.
Okay, so on the 30th, the last couple of things was Cameron Diaz. And then on the 31st, we had Richard Gere, Debbie Gibson. Do you know who Debbie Gibson is?
Debbie Gibson. Yes. Where's Debbie Gibson from? You tell me.
She's an 80s pop star.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. But she transitioned as an adult into like Broadway and stuff. So her name is she no longer goes by Debbie. She goes by Deborah Gibson. But she's like continued her career into her like probably now late 40s, early 50s. And then
awesome.
and then Chris Tucker, and then last but not least, Sara Ramirez, who also plays Che on the new Sex and the City thing, who her character has been very controversial. Sara goes by they, them. So their character's also non-binary. When she was on Grey's Anatomy, when they were on Grey's Anatomy, she went by she, her. Yes. And then they came out as bisexual, and then they came out as non-binary. Guys, I know sometimes it can be confusing, but
we're all keeping up.
Mm-hmm. It's okay. It's okay to make a mistake and then correct it, right? It's fine. Mm-hmm. So they play a non-binary character on And Just Like That as well. And their character has been very controversial. It's been a little like, whatever.
Really? Maybe I should watch. I loved Sarah on Grey's Anatomy.
Oh, totally different character, girl. Mm-hmm. Like, totally, completely different character. I couldn't stand her. Okay, I couldn't stand them in the first season. I couldn't stand them part of the second season either. And now I'm just like, whatever. I'm kind of indifferent, which I think is dangerous. Like, you know what I mean? Like, when you get indifferent to a character, you want like a polar, like a like or a hate. But when you become indifferent to a character, I think that character becomes in jeopardy. That's kind of how I feel about that character now.
So one of the birthdays, I confused Martin Sheen. I actually was talking about Steve Martin, but his birthday is also August. I just keep confusing their names in my head. But he's in Only Murders in the Building, with Selena Gomez, which I love. And now I'm watching the latest season, and it's just amazing. It's just been really fun.
I need to finish watching season 2. So I think season 3 is going to be released. So we can talk about that later. But yeah, girl, we have overstayed our welcome. Mi gente, thank you so much for continuing to listen and continuing to support. Like, me and Ellie will get the hang of this thing, right? We'll get the hang of it.
Yes. Let us know if you enjoy us arguing about drinking wine or not drinking wine or smiling. What else do we argue about?
Well, I will say last month I had a friend say that, that they wanted more chisme, and she didn't know I was doing this. And she goes, this was the perfect thing. So, but we had a lot more energy. We were a lot more light.
It was evening, right?
Yeah, it was evening.
Well, now we know. Well, we were supposed to do this on a Friday afternoon, which I think would have been good, but we had stuff come up over the weekend.
Yeah, I wasn't feeling good, and obviously, like, not 100 yet, but you weren't feeling good, so it's fine. It's okay.
We still brought the chisme.
We still did. But until next time, mi gente, saludos.
Bye.
Hola, mi gente. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Wine Chisme Podcast. If you would like to hear more wine and more chisme, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Saludos.